Hi there everybody, great and glorious, Nick Dutch back on the camera again one more time. Hi there, how the heck's it going? Just very quickly, yes I am going to be doing that Ouija seance quite soon. Now, I made a suggestion that this should be to try and apparently or seemingly contact the spirit of someone who was famous and dead. There are a number of different great suggestions that were out there, and the one which really rang true for me was Edgar Allan Poe. And for that reason, I've done those readings of Edgar Allan Poe's poetry recently. The reason I find it interesting, or him interesting as a character, is because he was obviously very perceptive, very intelligent, very articulate, and he came to a rather sticky end, which is rather curious. I don't know much about him, apart from what I've just read up on the Wikipedia page. But it seems like if there is a way of getting some kind of strange experience associated with someone who could hypothetically be regarded as being the father of a lot of Western and Gothic poetry and art, would be fascinating. So that is what we'll be doing. There's a possibility, I'm not sure whether I'll do it, of attempting to do the same thing with a fictional character as well, such as maybe Lenore. I don't know whether Lenore was based upon a real individual, or whether Lenore was purely a fabrication of the imagination of Edgar Allan Poe. But that's a possibility. I don't know whether I'll choose Lenore or somebody else, but essentially the personal experience, rather than experiment, that I want to do is to see what kind of apparent results can occur when I'm trying someone who actually existed, as opposed to someone who might not have existed, just to see what happens. But I'm just going to very quickly go into a certain private message I've received, and to tell you my point of view based upon what's been told to me, because essentially all I can do is to tell you my point of view. Alright? It says here, "Hi Nick, as a scientist I'm very interested in occult world models and theories of magic. Do you have any theories about how some of these psychic phenomena might work, or any recommendations for good books on the subject?" Well, first and foremost, as far as good books on the subject, I've already mentioned the book by Isaac and Sargent. That's Hans Isaac, the famous, proper scientific Hans Isaac, and of course the proper scientist Sargent himself, who wrote books about the unexplained and supernatural phenomena. Those are great authors to have a look at, and I would seriously recommend them. As far as do I have any theories about how some of these psychic phenomena might work, well, of course, you being a scientist, you would know that I couldn't possibly have any theories now, could I? All I could have is some kind of hypothetical model, or an extrapolation based upon some particular strange experiences. I don't think that I am in sufficient possession of enough information or knowledge to be able to say I have a theory on the subject. I don't believe that any of us have enough information. I've heard people talk about different planes of reality having fields of existence, and when these fields overlap, then all of a sudden something peculiar can occur. I've had some people providing religious explanations and saying that this is all down to God or the Holy Spirit, and so on and so forth. Do I have any theories about how some of these things might work? I don't know enough. I really don't. I would say that it is hypothetically possible that there are some forms of matter which cannot be properly detected these days, upon which consciousness either has some influence, or indeed that consciousness is actually based upon, and that has some kind of connection with life and living matter in its own right. Maybe the electrochemical reactions that we see in the brain, or the results of an EEG scan, is merely the physical manifestation of something of a, for want of a better word, spiritual nature going on. I would say that that is a hypothetical possibility. The way that information seems to be delivered can be across space and across time. If it's across space, it doesn't seem to diminish by distance. So essentially, would it work in terms of fields? I don't think so. It would make much more sense that this particular form of matter is a kind of a sticky, gluey plasma which can move in accordance with the will or focus of an individual to a particular target, and then information can then flow between those two particular targets. I would say a bioplasma hypothetical model would be much more feasible than one based upon fields or the interaction between fields. I would say that something to do with consciousness and a delivery of information would be the best way in which one could possibly describe it. I in inverted commas, believe. I don't know whether we can say that there is any other way of describing these things. It says here, I'm wondering if the multiverse models that are becoming popular these days might offer a way to scientifically explain some of the ancient occult phenomena. Well, wait a second, it wouldn't be scientifically explained, would it? If you think about just literature upon the brain, for instance, a certain period of time ago, the connections between the brain cells were regarded to be similar to wires. That's because the technology that we had was copper-based technology. And that would be, by what you're talking about, a, in inverted commas, scientific explanation. It wouldn't be, of course, in practice a scientific explanation. It would be a model based upon some things which occur in either the natural or the man-made world, the way that they appear to be. So a model based upon the way that things seem to be, according to some scientists, is not a scientific explanation. So, again, we don't know. Maybe there are multiple universes floating around. Maybe they do interlock and interact, and maybe there are little weaker points whereby information could slip through and there are entities there out there. I don't know. I don't think it is feasible or practical for the individual who is trying to experiment with trying to get some strange experiences to worry as to whether there are multiverses. It's much more practical to think about yourself as an individual with free will, and the free will to basically try and look at these things objectively. And that makes much more sense to me. The message goes on. For example, astral projection and dreams could be the mind becoming aware of other parts of the multiverse. Well, from personal experience, astral projection has more connection with the physical universe, because your apparent or alleged spirit seems to move about the physical world and sees things happening in the physical world. So that appears to be either consciousness moving outside of the body, or perceptual ability moving outside of the body under an altered state of consciousness. But how that operates and why there are beings and angels and spirits, or spirits of the deceased, which you can occasionally sense or see when you're in an astral projection experience, we again still don't know, because there's more questions which are raised by an actual experience than answers which are provided by them. And I think it's only those who are weak of mind who say that the experience, which raises more questions, is actually proof of some particular hypothetical models of the way that the universe works. So it really is important to make these distinctions, because occultists make the mistake of calling themselves scientists. I've heard a lot of people talk about the science of magic before, and I think it is one of the most ridiculous uses of the word science ever. However, to try and be scientific about the phenomena which are experienced, the only thing that we can actually objectively say is that there are some certain types of strange experiences which can be culturally defined by things such as seeing ghosts, having an astral projection, and so on and so forth. But they are just strange experiences. Whether, we still can't say whether this is proof conclusive proof. I mean, there's all kinds of different qualities of proof, aren't there, in science? There's all kinds of different qualities of evidence. But you've got to reach a point whereby things are truly conclusive for you to be able to make a real, solid, hard and fast conclusion, which we can't actually do because we don't have enough information. Sure, there's lots of these strange experiences which can be had by the average individual, and there's millions, possibly billions of people out there who claim to have these strange experiences, and I have had a fair few of them myself. But it's a question of just like knowing when we can say that something is proof, or knowing when something isn't proof, and it's much better to just carry on experimenting. I mean, eventually one day, hopefully, once the atheist attacks upon occultism have stopped being quite so unscientific, okay, because a lot of them are, oh, you believe in spirits then, do you? No, I don't. I believe in strange experiences. Alright, and I believe in the hypothetical connections of consciousness between beings. Okay, the as it were, beliefs that I have are incredibly weak, and they would make up a variety of models of things which can happen, rather than attempting to explain and characterize alleged facts about the way that the gear wheels of the universe seem to interlock and operate. Alright? It says here, maybe the multiverse is a set of all imaginable mental constructs, and imagination is our eye into these other realities within the larger multiverse of mind. What do you think? What I think is what you've done there is come out with something very similar with what Alphonse Louis Constant was talking about. I think that your hypothetical standpoint there is talking about the astral lights, or universal consciousness. I mean, we could say, going more poetic, and it is going more poetic, that we are all brain cells in the head of God, for instance. But that's a poetic way of expressing the possibility that consciousness and mental constructs seem to all be connected somehow, and we are receivers of it. Okay? Well, that's my point of view. So I hope you've enjoyed it. Maybe you got some entertainment from it. Maybe it's helped you to think a little more about these things. But if we are all brain cells in the head of God, right now I think God is thinking a lot of bollocks, to be quite frank. And I think God needs to start, God as in us, needs to start being honest, as to say, these are strange phenomenon, but that's all we can really say about them. And it will be worthwhile just keeping it at that. One day we may be able to use this for communication, but that's still a long way off. And the thing which keeps it a long way off is, on one side of things, the occultists themselves, who, although they're keeping the excitements about this stuff alive, they're also thoroughly misrepresenting it. Alright, through saying, this is proof of the presence of the horned god, or the angels, or the fairies, or the demons, yes. Oh, it's proof of them, yes, it's proof of them, yes, yes. No, it fucking isn't. The only thing it's proof of is a strange experience can occur, that's all. Get it into your thick heads, occultists, okay, all of you. Whether you're pagans, witches, I don't care what the fuck you are, okay? Get it into your thick head. The only thing that you can prove is there's a strange experience, and that's only a personal, experiential form of evidence. Okay, because this is experiential and experimental. Alright, that's all. We are experimental occultists. We are not scientists who understand and can control the whole universe by our will and our mentality and our superior spirituality or whatever. That's a load of bullshit. Realize that, okay? But because the occultists are coming out with all of this stuff, and I don't know whether that's just because they want to propagate a cult or what, I don't know. But they're stopping further research because they're making anyone who looks into this stuff to look like a complete loser. Alright? It pisses me off. And on the other side of things, because of the rubbish that the occultists are saying, because no, this is proof of life after death, proof that there are spirits and angels, and yes, proof, yes. Because of that, that gives anyone who's against this particular phenomena plenty of ammunition to misrepresent the whole argument. I mean plenty of it, which is, such a complete and utter pain in the arse. Because if someone is scientific, they would have to say, look, there are strange things happening, let's try and understand what it can be used for. Okay? That's it. But there's people who don't like the misuse of occult spiritual ideas, which is being propagated by the occultists, which is sick. And therefore they will do anything to attack it. I mean, the skeptics are not scientific. The skeptics are not scientists. And the occultists are not scientists. We just have a massive misrepresentation war going on, rather than, attempting to expand or advance human knowledge. That's my thoughts for today.